Yes! What? Woo! Oh yeah.
5 cats.
5 cats. Okay. Maybe your cats are using the internet.
I love you, Annie.
Who needs stealth when you're a badass? Oh my god. Okay. Perfect timing.
Today, we are joined by verified Twitch streamer, HerculeSatan. Mr. Hercule, thank you for joining us.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know we've been going back and forth a little about scheduling, and we're just really excited to finally have you on so we can get a chance to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's been a long time coming, but hey, here it is, and here we go.
What sort of games do you stream, and what would most people know you by?
Typically would be card games. So I started with like the Elder Scrolls Legends, and more recently it's been more Eternal. But my current thing is kind of just doing variety stuff. So now it's basically whatever I'm feeling at the time. But yeah, card games are my main thing.
Interesting. Card games. That's definitely not what you're doing right now as far as your average games.
Games, I kind of got interested in them by Hearthstone, the great introducer of all things, like Blizzard's really good at doing. But yeah, I don't know. I've just always had a weird interest in them, and it seemed like a nice thing to try and do for streaming because it is fairly laid back as far as being able to talk to the audience and read chat and still provide entertaining things because you're waiting on someone else's turn. So yeah, I don't know, I guess that's kind of where it all came from.
Do you ever play physical card games like Magic the Gathering? I was just at their Grand Prix over the weekend, and it's really kind of impressive to see a physical community of card players at such scale like that. Have you ever been a part of something like that?
No, surprisingly. I do enjoy, because MTG Arena came out. I've been giving that a little bit of time here and there, but no, I never really got into the physical side. I mean, other than when I was a kid, I had Pokemon cards, but I mean, that was kind of a thing.
I think I literally have a set of Pokemon cards right here sitting around. I found my Zapdos the other day. Do you see Magic the Gathering becoming a good online card game competition, or do you think that traditional card game foundation that it has, that the real cards will kind of inhibit the growth as compared to like an Elder Scrolls or a Hearthstone?
It's interesting. I think it's gonna be fine online, like because they do their rotations and they do new sets all the time in physical form. So I don't think like the digital side of it's really gonna be held back by it at all. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a nice competition for everything. They're ramping up. They're really investing money in it. You can tell Wizards wants that to be successful. So I think it'll definitely be up there with the best of them.
Yeah, you can only imagine someone that kind of built the card-playing fantasy genre is going to have a foundational role in the online. It's kind of ridiculous that they're as late as they are to the set.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting. I mean, I know they have Magic the Gathering online, but that thing was always kind of harder for newer players and stuff to get into, and it has the whole real money market and all that. So I think MTG Arena is a little bit more in line with what people expect of online card games.
I have some friends who are working on growing their decks on there and kind of becoming a little bit more expert in this field, and they're saying that's because of the frequency of games that you're able to play compared to the traditional card game, that it's going to create a level of skill and competition that's not going to be linear to the physical card game anymore. As people are able to not be limited by the resources of physical cardboard, getting card sets, it has that kind of potential. Have you noticed that being the way in the games that you're playing?
Yeah, I mean the games I play don't have a physical side, so it's hard to say. But yeah, they're I mean not having to deal with shuffling through your physical cards and all that, and just being able to search for a card by typing in the first couple letters is always a nice benefit. So I could see yeah your collection management and all that is definitely much easier online than it would be physical.
Mm. Well, we'll get into more of that in a little bit, but before we get ahead of ourselves, let's jump back for a moment. Uh, what can you tell me about your start as a gamer? Where did you first start gaming as a kid?
Um, I don't know really because I started with video games as young as I could possibly have because I don't know why I somehow we had a Nintendo line around the house and that's went right in on it and I've been this nice sweaty nerd you see before you ever since.
Glorious.
Because yeah, I don't know. I can't really recall like the first games I played, but I do have fond memories of playing the old school Mario's and Final Fantasy. I played on the NES as well, and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of the classics.
Mm. How old are you about now?
Just turned 30, so I'm on that downward hill now.
Nice. I turned 32 this summer as well. I can also remember the age of the NES and the Super Nintendo and stuff. For me, I had an older brother, just 2 years older, but still he kind of got that edge a little bit. And then, of course, every time a magazine came out, we would just beg for the latest best, mow the lawn for the 64 kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
So it sounded like you followed a very similar path through the 80s and 90s through gaming, but what kind of made it shift for you from something that you enjoy to something that you produce content for and have turned into somewhat of a business on your own?
Well, my interest in streaming all started from League of Legends a long while back because that's when I started watching Twitch myself, or actually I was watching Owned, which doesn't exist anymore because Justin TV was like, no, we're crushing that, and because I think I remember everyone was making the switch to Justin TV because they were offering you can actually make a living from this, and that's when I first took interest in it. But I was in college and I wasn't really ready to start doing all that yet. But my real interest in it came when I just basically was doing a bunch of other jobs, and I graduated college, I'm not really using my degree, and just nothing I was doing was really making me happy at all. So I just was looking into streaming again. I was like, I wanted to do this years ago, and I kind of wish I did, but just I don't know. It's kind of hit that weird point in my life where it's like nothing else has worked. Why don't we try this?
Well, sometimes you just gotta try other things, right? Why not go back to the things you've always wanted to do? What was it? Was there any like singular influence along the way that you were watching that kind of made it seem attainable, or was it just always one of your general goals to be able to be one of those streamer type people?
I guess I watched a lot of the bigger people in the respective card games and League of Legends and stuff that I play go from being just someone that people kind of casually watch to being some of the best people. Like Kriparian's a great example. Like I was watching him for a pretty long while, and he actually was the reason I got into Hearthstone, and I would just watch him. I didn't even play the game at the time because he had the early access and all that into it, and I don't know. I saw how he exploded and was like, this could be a thing. Like like he's starting off with a game that's brand new. That's no card games were popular in physical form, but no one really cared as far as online goes. Like or I never heard of anyone caring about it. Like and all of a sudden it's like one of the biggest directories on Twitch. So yeah, stuff like that kind of been introduced me and inspired me to do it.
Was it part of the directory listing and how it was relatively niche and not saturated yet, like some of the more popular games? Did that help to bring you to it, or was it necessarily the gameplay of a card game? Because
a bit of both. I mean, obviously you don't want to join something that's too insanely overpopulated because the chances of you finding yourself if you're scrolling down trying to see where that one viewer person is, you scroll down for about 15 hours and then you're like, there it is. But yeah, the niche and the accessibility and the potential for growth is always something you want to look at.
So I take it you started streaming because of just you got to that point that you wanted to give it a shot. Now's a good time. What was it when you were doing it that you kind of realized that I could actually do this? I mean, for those who aren't watching, we haven't really listed through stats yet, but you have 2,300 followers right now, which comparatively speaking, your interaction level is 162 average viewers concurrent on average. You peaked back in August at around 400 or so, and I want to talk about that path and what's happened between then. But even so, at 162 to 2,300, that's a really high ratio. That means that you have a really good interaction on your community, which so much confuses me a little bit, if I'm to be honest, because of the variety of stream content that you said you had initially. That you started from a card game, now you're a little bit more of a variety streamer, doing games like Devil May Cry or Metal Gear Solid or some what was the Minions, Minion Monsters?
Oh, Minion Masters, yeah.
Minion Masters, that was pretty fun too. So you have a variety there. What can you tell me about the journey to discover that game type, and when you kind of realized that I can do this?
Well, so the big thing was the card games that I played. They have like drops attached to them, so essentially people get rewarded for coming. That's why there's like kind of an odd number where it's like, okay, there's a lot of people watching this guy and not a ton of followers. It's because it's pretty saturated by the same amount of people, and you'll get, you know, a couple thousand followers in that area. But realistically, you got maybe like a cycle of like a few hundred people that are going to be on just watching out all the time, so they can try and just get some stuff, you know. That's how people are. But yeah, it was weird. I got into Legends pretty early on in its cycle, and I tried to stream it a while ago, but there was like zero interest for it because, you know, Bethesda made a card game and there was a little bit of hype, but no one really cared. Like, there was no one on that directory, but they introduced that drop system is really what did it. You know, just watch somebody for a while and you get like maybe a free pack in game. It's nothing like monumental, but for some reason that takes it from people just kind of being like, whatever, that game, I play it, I guess, to people just wanting to watch. So yeah, that's kind of how it all kind of exploded for me. It's just finding the right time zone to stream to, and finding that niche category, I guess.
Well, you said a couple interesting things there. One time zone, which I'd like to talk about because you are in an unusual time zone by comparison. But before we get there, you were talking about the activity or the actions of people looking for free stuff in game, and I know Twitch has the like connect to your Amazon account and get free in-game swag. It sounds like it's a similar bounty type system where you do certain things, you get a certain type of reward, but instead of being streamer focused, it's more user focused and viewer focused, right? I don't think a lot of people are necessarily aware of the ability to farm Twitch like this. What can you go into a little bit more detail about that kind of setup and maybe other games that you know of that have a structure like that?
Yeah, so so Twitch has a thing with certain companies. They'll introduce like, we want to make it where if somebody's watching a game for X amount of time, then they have a chance to get you know, whatever, maybe some in-game currency, rewards in game, a cosmetic, simple cosmetics like Don't Starve Together, I believe, has stuff like that, where if you're watching somebody, you can get a cosmetic for your character. So it's, you know, it's nothing crazy, but it's still, again, like I said, it's a small incentive. And yeah, it's similar to Amazon Prime, where you would connect your game account with Twitch. So if you were to, you know, for example, TESL, the one I started with, Elder Scrolls Legends, sorry, I'll be just calling it TESL from now on, it's much easier. TESL would do where you log your Bethesda account in on Twitch, and then as you watch, you just get increased chances for getting a in-game item, and they cap you out at a certain point. But it's just nice, easy way to build it up. Especially, you know, you see it a lot in the free-to-play games, but that one in particular had it. Eternal does have it as well, but now there's like a whole different system for that, which is what we can get into later. That's why I'm kind of doing the whole variety thing, and things have been dropping off.
Interesting.
And Don't Starve Together has it. I think Gwent had it. I don't know what they're doing anymore. I haven't really paid attention to Gwent in a while.
Did you find? Sorry to interrupt. No, did you find yourself stumbling into this? This is basically talking around the concept of your channel itself had a very nice growth rate all the way up to over 400 concurrent viewers. I believe that this kind of began as a conversation about how you rode that system of people looking for those in-game packs a little bit throughout some launch period to kind of get to that high concurrent viewership in the beginning, which was kind of interesting. Tell me about how that actually happened. Was it an accident? How did you discover it was occurring? There's got to be constant changes to the algorithm that people are or aren't aware of is occurring. So this is pretty interesting.
I just noticed that they had well, I think with Elder Scrolls it was funny because I actually caught it kind of on the downward spiral of what their drops were, because they had introduced the program and they had it set like way too high. People were getting like an insane amount of things, and they kind of just neutralized their economy for people wanting to spend things, so they had to cut it down. And I think there was a little bit of an uproar that reminded me that that game had existed, so I was like, oh yeah, I should go play that game again. And I had fun with it, and I was looking at the Twitch numbers and I was like, this makes no sense. Like there's like 6 channels and there's like 800 people watching at any time. It just doesn't, it just doesn't, you look at that and it just is madness. Usually when you go to like a more niche game, random mini game number 1, it would be 3 channels and each would have like 10 viewers. Something like this, there'd be 3 or 4 channels, and the top would have like 500 and the next ones would have like trailing off, like maybe 100, 200. And yeah, that's kind of what I don't know, I guess I just managed to catch it like right at the time where there's a little bit of spike in controversy because they had just neutralized the drops a little bit and made them where they weren't so potent, and caught it when maybe some other people were falling off and not wanting to stream it anymore.
No, that's pretty clever to be able to position yourself in that singular location at that singular time. I'm sure a lot of people probably had that opportunity recently with Apex Legends in the first couple of days. It was out, but it wasn't until they paid Ninja $1 million to live stream it that everyone really got on attention. It sounds not too similar, like TESL was doing something comparable, but just with in-game items versus a singular promotion. Yeah,
essentially they got free promotion on their game just by offering up a little bit of digital currency that in the end really doesn't cost them anything. Just the flip of switch.
But like we know, and history has showed us, though, you've been able to maintain a decent concurrent viewership. I mean, it's been months since, it's not quite a year later, but pushing almost 8 months later, you're in a position where you've maintained well over a third of those people doing different types of games. So clearly there is value in entertainment and things like that. How did you notice yourself recognizing this kind of trend of what's going on with your content viewership, and then the struggle that you've gone through in order to change the expectations of your stream and move into a different type of game? I know a lot of this is about setting up expectations with your stream, and it seems like you kind of changed those expectations while still maintaining a decent percentage. So what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so originally I had switched off of TESL because, to be perfectly honest, it was just like super stale for me, because they hadn't put any patches into the game for a while. They were going through a developer change and everything, and originally I had just transferred to a different card game, and they also had drops, and that was like a pretty easy enough transition because people come to your thing, they will expect some free stuff, they expect some good music, and they expect you to be doing whatever you're doing the whole time, which is basically just me just complaining about the cards or whatever, and I just went to a different game, and people were kind of mad at first because, funnily enough, the game that I was playing before, the developers were the developers of the game I switched to, and everyone was kind of in the dark about what was happening and like why the game, why Elder Scrolls Legends was taking a nosedive and had to be rebuilt and stuff. So they're all mad at Direwolf, which is the company that makes Eternal, and I switched over to that. So everyone's like, "Oh, you're being a traitor." I'm like, "What?" They're companies, man. They're not children. Like, this is just, they're making business decisions. Like, there's no loyalty for that.
And they learn, right? Like, it could be much better. That's the point.
Yeah. And I ended up bringing a lot of people over to Eternal. It's like, look, this is like a pretty fun game, and it's kind of like I always call it like more of like an accessible, a little bit more accessible Magic, because it's not as complicated as Magic, but it does take tons of influences from it. So it's a little bit easier to get into than if you were to just, say someone who's brand new into card games, here's Magic, like have fun, figure it out. but yeah, so that I kind of quickly nudged myself into that directory because I would just kind of do the whole, go start in TESL and then transfer over, and people would be like, "Oh, who's this guy? Why is he all of a sudden here with like 200 viewers or 300 viewers or whatever it may have been?" And I built up in there. I think one of the big things for me whenever I try and switch directories is I always make sure that I try to inject myself into the community as well. Like if I know this is the game I'm going to be streaming, like I'm going to go around people's chats, not like trying to like poach viewers or anything, but like just legitimately, I enjoy watching other people's content. So I'll just go and I'll hang out and I'll, just be a part of the community rather than just trying to come in and leech on them. So, contribute and actually be a chatter in games. And yeah, so I did that with Eternal, and beyond that, trying to keep people with other stuff. That is definitely the difficult part because, when you're going from card games to flying space ninjas shooting guns, that is quite a different thing. So yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to fully maintain viewers on that front, but I try, and hopefully people start to enjoy it more and more. But yeah, that one's a tough one.
It's a really dynamic question, absolutely, and you're testing on a lot of fronts, it seems, as well. One of the things we kind of touched on earlier was the time frame. Yourself run late stream. What is your current streaming hours and streaming schedule?
I've been trying to mix it up a tiny bit, just to make it a little bit earlier than I normally do. But originally it was midnight till like 8 a.m. and I'm Pacific time, so yeah, more like on the Australian kind of round there. That's when all my Australian streamer buddies are going. So I guess I'm part of that community in a sense now.
How did you take up to that community? Was it just the time that you had available, or did you notice that they favored your playstyle a little better?
Well, it was more that when so all going back to TESL or Elder Scrolls Legends, it's because when I looked at the directory during the times, the midnight to whatever, it was a lot of just Russian only, or just a rebroadcast channel. That was one of the ones I was in there. There wasn't really too many people live. There was one or two that would pop through, but it was mainly just that there was this wide open window where no one was streaming, and that's a perfect opportunity to just say, "Hey, I'll do that." Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just noticed lack of creators at that time.
Well, that's 2 for 2 creative techniques in order to position your stream. So I'm starting to get a hint of why you gained some success. There's some tactics here.
Yeah.
Not only that, but you mentioned something that I've heard a couple people refer to in the past as well, and that's a lot of this networking as value it is to stream growth. And it's not a lot of people, I think, get confused as to how much of the streaming is the act of streaming versus the process of being a part of the platform itself. What can you tell me about that process for yourself? Did it always start organically like that? I know you were a fan of Justin TV back in the day, and were early into the Twitch scene as far as watching League of Legends. Were you always as involved in the community, and is that where you come with that understanding, or is this more of a networking thing that you force yourself to, like we see so many people at TwitchCon?
Oh no, yeah, it was more organic. I'd say more the social media is where that's like forced. But when I'm in Twitch, it's organic. Like I like talking to other people. Like I'm not gonna just go there to watch them and talk to them if I don't want to. Like that's typically I want to. So that's the easy part for me. For me, it's more like the Twitter and stuff. I like, I don't know. I always have an issue with trying to like sound interesting in like a little small sentence form, like, "Hey, let's do this thing," or controversial topic, blah blah blah. Like I can't. That one's like really hard for me to do. But yeah, Twitch. I've always enjoyed watching Twitch, and like even before I started streaming, I remember that's why. That's another thing too. I forgot to mention earlier, is another reason why I got to kind of propel in that one, other than the time zone and all that, was because before I even started streaming, I was just in different channels and bouncing around channels and trying to make my name known. And yeah, that was before I had ever fired up a stream of it. And so all of a sudden, when you go to the directory at night and you're looking for someone to fall asleep to or whatever it may be. It's like, oh, that name, I've seen that name, and then you check me out, and hopefully they stay. So yeah, that's kind of that was more the origin story of it, I suppose.
Yeah, it sounds like persistence and presence is kind of what led you down the path. Eventually, you just couldn't help yourself but be part of the community in that way. I can empathize a lot with you on the social media platform. It's really hard to push that line between presence and promotion on something like social media when you don't necessarily get to communicate as effectively. How do you learn to adapt to that?
I think you just have to try and just stay true to what you want to put out there, and if your main image is growth, maybe throw out some shocking news and whatever. But if you just want some people to be real with you and whatever, just throw out some stream. I'm going real. I'm going real. I'm an idiot. And going live. Just throw that out sometimes, just to kind of keep people informed. Or if there is actually something that interests you, then you can throw it out there. But yeah, for me, I think the main thing I like to do is Discord now, which is funny because I used to not like to use Discord, and I didn't realize it was basically a Facebook for gamers. So now that's like my primary way of trying to stay in contact with people and kind of promote, which is weird since it's only the people that are specifically followed you, but it feels a little bit more humble and with a more tight-knit community. So I think I like kind of force myself to stay on there rather than going out to the Twitterverse and drawing in negativity, whatever else may come of it.
You do open up to the trolls in that instance, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to fit your pattern of long-form communication as well. Persistence and presence versus just short-term promotion kind of deal feels a lot more authentic in that way.
Yeah.
I'll take a quick break real quick. I just remembered, I didn't even ask you, how do you get the name HerculeSatan? Is Dragon Ball Z just that big of an influence on you?
Okay, so actually what happened was, so before I had started streaming, my name was Demira, which was an old band that got, they transferred into something else now they're hidden hospitals. So, but it had been taken, so I used Damn One Era, and everyone would always read it as Damn One Era, also because I didn't know that I could change the uppercase of it, so it was just lowercase Damn One and then Era. So every time people read it, like, oh, hey, thanks for following Damn One Era, it just like bothered me. I'm like, it's not Demira, it's Demira. And I was actually really into Dragon Ball Fighters, and I was watching a streamer, and he kept like telling me like, dude, why is your name Damn One Era? Like, I would subscribe to him, and it would like make him angry because he'd have to read my name again. He's like, the name's so stupid. And I was really wanting HerculeSatan in the game, Mr. Satan in Dragon Ball Fighters, and it was just like perfect timing. He was like, yeah, you should change your name, and I changed it, and I didn't realize there was a 45-day gap on it or whatever until you could change your name again. I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll just do it as a joke. And yeah, that now it's stuck. So I started streaming under that moniker, and here we are, like 6-7 months later down the road.
Nice. Well, I'm a huge fan of Dragon Ball Z, so I appreciate it. I didn't know to call you Mr. Satan or Hercule-sama. I was kind of confused to begin with. So what kind of tricks have you learned along the way to make your stream grow as it was? Clearly the positioning and stuff in the beginning was huge for you. Were there any small things that you've learned along the way to keep it consistent?
Oddly enough, like music choices. I don't know why that seems to help. Like, because some people don't, especially with the limited number of streamers, like I was saying in each of the directories, some people would just come purely because they wanted to listen to music. They're like, oh yeah, like I don't know, this other guy's just playing EDM and I don't like EDM, so they would just come to me and I'm playing pop punk or metal or whatever, and like I kind of became like a small safe haven for people that wanted to listen to more like the rock and type stuff, which is kind of funny because I mean now you look at pretty much any other directory and you can find whatever you want, or you just go to anybody and just chatting and they're playing whatever the hell they want. People don't care, they're just watching them for them. And but when it's a smaller directory, for some reason people really connect to certain things like that. So that's one of them for sure, was music choices.
Do you find yourself acting like a mini DJ where you see the community acting a little bit lullish, so you put something on harder? or is it
A
just?
little bit, yeah. Sometimes I'll just be in a different mood, you know. I'll play like my folky type stuff, and people start getting real mad at me. Like, what is this?
Cry on
And
your own
so,
time.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll put something else on. The main thing is people always want song requests on, but I know that just invites nothing but troll songs, and I'm like, dude, do not want to listen to that shrimp song again.
I would definitely just donate so I could do the same song over and over for like the full stream, see how far I could go. Definitely. So, in the end of the day, this is a business, right? There are people various stages of the process, full time, part time. But the idea, though, is that you're in this world in order to stream, to meet people, and in some ways to keep affording to be able to do this. Without
Yeah.
getting into necessary specifics of dollars or details, I could ask questions about kind of just the environment that you've noticed as far as donations to subs, to partnerships, and other things like that. How is your world broken down between things like these independent partnerships with companies like OPC versus the actual streamer side of it? And if not from your own personal focus, kind of where do you see your streamer friends kind of fitting into this equation with where it should be or where you're trying to make it go into?
You mean like monetarily speaking? Like what do I kind of
Yeah.
see from? Well, I mean, you get some ad revenue and all that, which is always nice. But yeah, you see the stuff offline, and you get a few things from people. Like I'm very grateful for you guys giving me this chair, as it is easily the best chair I've ever owned.
Glad to hear it.
I've had it for a few months now, and it's showing no signs of breaking in half, which usually is the case. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of it is just promotional stuff with companies because, like I said before, the whole drop community thing is what basically likes to watch me a lot. So I don't see a whole ton of monetary support on that front because I think people people that like free things aren't really looking to pay me $5 to sit around and yell at card games or whatever it is. So I don't really expect much of it either. But I don't push it too much either. Like I'm not really trying to get in their face and like be like, why aren't you paying me money?
Yeah.
Like I don't really see the need for that. And then Twitch has its bounty board, so I've been able to kind of just float along, and I'm not like crushing the game and able to move states and go buy a home or anything like that, but there's enough there to kind of get me by and make it worth it. And at the end of the game, end of the day, I'm playing games, so I can't really complain too much.
I mean, the amount of people who actually can afford to move states and buy a home is actually very statistically very, very rare. You're talking 0.1% or so. It's very easy to be in the highest 1 to 5% of Twitch and not be able to do a full-time streaming off of it. But as far as the action itself of negotiating it, creating content, growing that environment, it seems to be the pull for a lot of streamers themselves, that interaction, especially with people that tend to play those one-player type games. I know you're a big fan of Devil May Cry on stream and Metal Gear Solid and games like that.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the path that you seem to be leaning towards, more of the community interaction side of it, or are you actually one day wanting to turn this into a full-time profession?
I mean, if it could become a full-time profession, I think that would be awesome. It's hard to see that, with the amount that I do make. It's nothing crazy, but it is something. It's like, oh, I could pay some bills with this. It's nice, but yeah, I don't know. It is hard to imagine it being full-time, unless I was like really crushing it in some directory or something. But I don't know. Yeah, I would like it to be full-time for sure. And I think with the more community sided things, I think you can see a lot of that more than trying to just go for like the large directories, unless you're someone like Shroud or someone like that. Like, yeah, those people are crushing it. That's fine. Like, and they deserve it. They put in their hours.
Yeah.
They're gods at the game. Like, they are gonna do it and they're gonna be fine. But I think for someone more like me, like I think the community thing is more what works for trying to maybe grow it out and finding something that people are passionate about, which is why I like Warframe, because people are really passionate about that game. So I've been trying to kind of put myself in there and hopefully see what happens. But yeah, it's kind of weird trying to rebuild a community every single time I get a new interest in a video game. But I think the only way to really keep your viewers engaged is if you actually care about what you're doing. So if I'm just forcing myself to keep playing that card over and over and over and over and over and over again, like they're gonna get bored, and yeah, there's no point in that at that point,
Absolutely. It's still, though, your community seems to play a role, and of course needs to dictate in some format what you do. Do you find yourself still subtly leaning towards certain game styles, just because you know that maybe you want to play that new game, but it's not going to go well, or are you just literally like, Ebbet, I'm going to do what I want to do. It's just going to they're going to come if they're going to like it. What's your approach?
Yeah, before it was very much like if I'm going to play something different, I'm 100% going to start with my card game, and then I'll just flip the switch on them later. And if they want to stay, they want to stay. And if they're sleeping, then okay, that's fine. I'll take those views. But lately, it's just I just put on whatever I want, and I mean there is a little bit of consideration to it. Like I know, like if I was to be playing, I don't know, if I was gonna be playing like Fortnite or something, like I know no one that watches me would want to watch me play that. So I'm not good enough at those type of games anyway, so they don't care, and I wouldn't care. It would just be if I wanted to play it off stream. But as far as the yeah, you do need to kind of stay within a same genre. I think is really helpful for me. It's trying to completely change the game up on them, and going first to Devil May Cries and single player action games to now like Warframe, and I mean at least Minion Masters has a similar tie because it is card based. But yeah, I think at least what I should be doing is staying more within the realm of cards, and that I think that they appreciate that more because it's people have very specific tastes usually. Not everyone likes like literally anything. Like I kind of am that way. Like, oh wow, that's a game that looks cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. People tend to stick to those complete niches. I've seen a lot of people in these interviews at this point who've been able to find variation, but it always comes down to that expectation. Like there are key days when we're doing FPSs, and then there's days we're doing RPGs. It's just having a schedule set up where people know what day it is.
Yeah.
Do you have it broken up in any format, or is it just kind of like what are you feeling is going to happen, and that's kind of the flow that you're going with it at this point?
I don't have it set up that way yet. I really need to. It's just kind of hard to force myself into a schedule because, yeah, some days I do just want to play Warframe until the sun goes down and then continue until the sun goes up. But sometimes, sometimes I am feeling the card game, but I think it would be really beneficial for me and, for people's sanity that I don't just switch games at a whim. So that is something I needed to get into. Because before I had a very strict schedule. It was like, I am playing Eternal every day. And maybe I'll switch it up at the end. So don't worry. Like, at the very least, you can catch me playing this game for 6 hours, and then I'll switch over. But yeah, lately it's been pretty volatile and just doing anything and everything.
When did you change that strict schedule, by the way?
I just kind of got tired of seeing the same thing over and over. It was the same thing that happened with Elder Scrolls Legends, and as it is a competitive game with Eternal, people go online, they see what the best thing is, and then they just want to keep playing that same thing over and over and over. I mean, it's when you get to the point where you can predict exactly what's going to happen on every single turn because you know that that's the exact deck that they're playing, it gets a little tiresome. You're like, okay, turn 3, that means he's got this card, it's coming out, it's going to hit me again, and then it does, and you're like, well, there it is. And then you just concede and move on.
Become a little jaded. Yeah, it doesn't sound like they kept up with the game nearly enough.
Yeah, just some certain things are too strong for too long, and people have a tendency to kind of stick to it. It's like with fighting games too. If you were playing Injustice and it's a Warner Brothers fighting game, it would be you're playing against Batman every single game. Like, that gets tiresome. Like, you're like, okay, I would like to see maybe Superman would mixed in the mix here, or Wonder Woman. Nope, it's just you're playing against Batman for 6 hours on repeat.
Yeah, strict meta's got to be the most monstrous thing to handle in games like that. When one character becomes OP and updates don't push enough, the entire game gets broken, and then everyone's just playing Batman instead of Injustice. That's awkward.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
what,
exactly.
what kind of advice could you give to other streamers or people that want to become a Twitch streamer?
Um, I guess do your homework on your directory, see what they're kind of into. When you jump into streaming, don't forego all your paychecks into setup. You know, get a few of the basics, but you know, some people want to just go right into like they're getting the most expensive video camera, they're getting the most expensive mic, they're gonna get everything, green screen, everything. You don't need all that. If you look at people like Crip, like he has a very basic setup and he is pulling like 20,000 people. Like he has no green screen, he just has a camera, some lighting, and a microphone, and that's it. Like but I would say if you're going to also start, you need to make sure you put stuff underneath your stream. I notice a lot of people when they're brand new, like, because, you know, I keep up on what's happening in the directories I'm in. They won't have anything in their descriptor about them. There's nothing, no about me, no schedule, no nothing. And it's fine if you don't have a schedule, but you just have to put it, and people can kind of expect more when they see a little bit of professionalism put in where you didn't literally just push start, you know. I know I said not to spend a lot of money or anything, but there has to be some element of professionalism to it.
Absolutely, production value seems to be something that scales a little bit with your experience with the different tools, right? Like there's a lot into fine tuning your independent rig, but you still kind of come up to the same couple pieces. I got a couple questions about that for you later. I want to know your favorite. But before that, what do you know? What could you tell me about your favorite accomplishment in doing what you do so far?
Favorite accomplishments. I guess switching from one game to another was pretty nice because when I was playing Elder Scrolls Legends, I just was like, I guess I'm stuck here forever. I'm never going to be able to change. And then once I made the switch to Eternal and I rebuilt the community pretty quick, it was really nice because I made, and I know that I brought some people over too, and I think that was a really big one for me, was knowing that some people play Eternal because I play Eternal. I think that was pretty cool to know that I did have some kind of sway in the community. You know, I wasn't just an item farm for some. You know, I think that's really good for your mental health, because when sometimes when you look at the numbers, it's like, okay, yeah, well, got 400 people in chat right now, but I think maybe 50 of them care. So when you see people coming over and kind of following you and doing, you know, ride or dying with you with every game you're playing, and I think that's my favorite. I think that's what I'm liking about testing the waters with a ton of different games is my numbers have significantly dropped, but it's still fun to see like who. It's almost like a torture chamber in a sense. It's like, who will put up with this game? But when they do, it's really nice and makes you feel good because you're like, wow, they actually do just want to watch me. They don't care about whatever the hell else is going on.
Was there ever an event when you did something that your stream didn't react positively to, that maybe you could consider as like not necessarily a failure, just something that you learned from?
Oh yeah, I mean, one time I got drunk, which you know, always leads to certain things. But I was kind of I was like angry drunk, and I was playing. I wasn't like, you know, I wasn't being outrageous or anything like that, but I was just kind of harping on the whole like subs get my Snapchat and the Patreon and blah blah blah. Like I was just really angry about that for some reason. Like I don't really care, but I think we were just talking, like me and another person were just talking about that, and then I was drinking, and I kind of like was overblowing everything I did in my channel, and was like, "You guys need to, if you sub, I'm giving you a Snapchat." And I like legitimately made a Snapchat that I was gonna make for subs and stupid stuff like that.
Push it.
Yeah, I remember people were kind of like over that because I've noticed that the the main target audience for card games is a little bit on the older side, so they weren't really having that. They're like, dude, this is why I don't go to those. Like, it's annoying. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thought it was funny, but you know, I
Definitely.
think people were just like, I've seen this everywhere else. Please don't do this to me.
Yeah, it does sound like you've got a jaded community a little bit.
Yeah.
We have a lot of different type of websites we'll deal with back here, and we're kind of interested in determining the difference between like buying traffic and just general information type traffic. You know, people that are just looking for info, people looking for that free in-game grind item, or the people like looking to seriously learn a hardcore technique or something like that. You know, the different type of traffic. It sounds like you found yourself in that nice general, just like sitting back, jaded streamer, like, I just want to watch you play. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear your pitches. Entertain me.
Yeah. No, I mean they like to hear me talk about stuff, and it's kind of funny. It's like this running joke within the community now is because like me and a couple other the streamers we don't just like to talk about Eternal, you know, like we want to talk about some music that we like or maybe another game that we've been playing, but people would be like, why aren't you talking about your play? It's like, what's there to talk about? You've seen me play this deck 100 times. You know, but sometimes people really do want that, and you know, especially if you get a newer person, they're going to want to know the tactics beyond it. But yeah, for me it's a lot of just keep doing what you're doing and play that game and dance for me.
Are you going to be going to any events this year? Any way that people can come meet you?
I think TwitchCon is probably going to be a must because it is really close to me this time. I went to San Jose last year, and that was like 6.5 hours away. This one's literally like an hour down the road from me. Well, yeah, it's downtown San Diego, so maybe a couple hours, but I could literally drive there and drive back each day. Like that's going to be really nice. Much easier than having to drive out forever and you know, do all that. But I think TwitchCon's for sure.
Did you have a good time at TwitchCon 2018?
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I got to meet a bunch of the other streamers in the directory from back when I was playing TESL, and it was cool to meet them. And you know, one of them's from New Zealand. It's like how many opportunities you can get for that? Like that is insanely far away, but I get to meet you in the flesh. It's pretty cool. And you know, just seeing kind of what goes along with streamer culture and seeing all the different ins and outs of, especially with like the whole partner lounge, you can just go talk to people. Like I was talking to some of those huge names, and it's just like really weird to have like one-on-one time with someone that's regularly pulling like 20,000, 30,000 people.
How did you get yourself into the lounges?
Well, because if you're a partner, they just let you go in, and yeah, just would see someone I recognize. I was like, hey, like, how's it going? And you know, I spoke, like for example, I was talked about it earlier, but I spoke to Crip, and for me, my main question for him was like, how do you play the same game so long? Because he's been playing that game for years. And he's like, I just genuinely enjoy it. I'm like, well, dang, because I've loved all the games I've played, and man, I get tired of them sometimes.
Yeah. So real quick, anybody watching, if you have any questions, please go ahead and go ahead and send them now. We're going to grab a couple of them to go ahead and ask after this next question. But I want to, before even the last question, which is a bit of a softball, TwitchCon though, you were already a partnered streamer by TwitchCon, so you got a chance to go and did you get any swag or anything like that? Did you get your custom embroidered backpack while you were there? Very cool.
Yeah, I did. It's cool. Like, yeah, you just walk in, they're like, here's a backpack. You're like, nice.
All right, yeah.
The funny part was, though, we couldn't bring that backpack back in because, you know, concealed weapons and all that stuff. So they gave us a backpack that we actually weren't allowed to have.
I can imagine.
So, like,
I bet so many people were stuck on the outside that just like walked out and came back in, you know, after a hot dog or something on the street. Like, you can't come back in, sir.
Yeah. I was like, why would you do this? It was so useful.
Yeah. So the last softball question I got for you is it doesn't have to be, or rather, in this community we all interact with a lot of different things, right? That we all have a keyboard that just has that super perfect click. We have a mouse that's just the fastest out of anyone that we've ever had, glides just right. In this field, people typically have a peripheral which they disproportionately love more than everything else. It doesn't necessarily have to be your OPC, but what's your favorite peripheral?
I think the two things that touch my body the most, I mean, I would say probably the seat and my headset, because they're literally touching me at all times, and if they're not comfortable and they're not doing well for me, then man, am I unhappy. Like I can kind of get by with keyboards and mice and whatever, and camera. I don't care if my camera's looking at me or not; it's there. My microphone's sitting off to the side. But yeah, the things that I'm most in direct contact with are the ones that make the biggest difference, especially when you're sitting around for so long.
What type of headphones you got?
I have the Corsair. What are they called? The C90s or something like that. I don't remember.
Nice, full
C70s.
wireless.
Yeah, they're full wireless. I love those because if I want to go get a drink, I can still be listening to music or whatever. Hearing if my turn's up on a game, hear that timer start ticking down and just quick sprint back to the computer. Just.
I used to love...
Yeah, anything touching me, man, that is going to be a number one for me. So yeah, the seat is crushing it.
I love it. Actually, I'm going to add question number one here is I see you gave your seat a shirt.
Yeah. So that's actually
branded.
Let me get up. It's my stream team, Simplicity.
Yeah.
So they actually, it's funny, they misspelled my name on the back. So I was like, I'm not wearing this anywhere, so it's going on my seat. Yeah, they made them in a rush, and I was like, you spelled my name wrong, right? They're like, oh, damn it. They're like, don't worry, those are temporary ones. We just made those for TwitchCon.
Nice. Well, I'm sure they'll have another one for you by then.
Yeah. Some
quick questions we can ask is embarrassing we didn't cover is what can you tell me about being your experience becoming a verified Twitch partner? When did that happen? How quickly did it happen? Were you rejected? Tell me about the process.
It was in October. I think it was the 3rd. I want to say something like that. I don't know. Sounds about right. But my experience with it was weird because it happened so fast. Because, like I said, with TESL, everything kind of exploded. I had qualified to be partner maybe like a couple weeks into streaming, but you have to wait and they have to make sure that you're going to be able to keep doing that. It was weird because when I applied, it didn't go into review for at least a month, so I just had no idea what was happening with it, and I was like, are you doing this? Like, are you not? And it's kind of hard to get a hold of Twitch people before you get partnered. Once you get partnered, they're all for responding to you quickly. But before that, they're like, you are like the millionth person asking us about partner, dude. Like, I don't care. Yeah, like every day, you just kind of hope it's gonna pop up because I known from other people that that little bell that's on top that shows you all your notifications for Twitch. That's where they tell you if you're partnered or not. So anytime I was watching something or I got gifted a sub somewhere, like just maybe I left the stream on and I got gifted a sub, I'd come back and I'm like, oh no, did I get it? Click on it, it's like someone gifted you a sub. I'm like, oh well, nice, but
So this was the full month leading up to TwitchCon for you, is basically just clicking and waiting for this to happen for you.
Yeah, well, once it went into review, then I had to wait about another month or so. So it was. I always tell people like if they've been waiting a few weeks, like I was like, dude, don't worry. Like I got partnered, and it took me 2 months from clicking apply to get verified. So if they're not getting back to you, don't panic. Don't stress yourself out like I did. But I actually noticed it. It was surreal. Like I didn't. It didn't feel like anything had changed, because. It's like, okay, well, no, it's like a birthday almost. It's like you're stoked, but you're like, okay, well, now what? Like, now I got to figure out what to do. But I just I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I finally saw it after the months of waiting, and and I got partnered much faster than typically happens. And even then, I was still like, come on. So I can't imagine. Some people I know have been just on that grindstone forever, and every time they apply, it's like. Just like, please give it to me. And I know I got lucky, man. Like, cause there's other people that are in the directory that are pulling crazy numbers and they've been denying them lately. So I don't know if I just got in at a good time or maybe they actually did review and saw like, okay, I like this guy. I don't know.
It could be because of the content type that you're doing as well. You were very particular with what you picked.
Yeah.
The lack of competition could also be a function. I mean, who knows, right? It's like the Google algorithm. No one can really see
exactly.
it.
I have no idea.
Yeah. That's interesting, though, that you were able to get the process within 2 months. And how long did it take? Were you streaming before you actually got the opportunity to apply?
Like maybe a month. So I think like 3 months in, I was partnered,
Just for
which is
partner.
kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, that's absurd. Yeah, few people have a
Yeah.
meteoric rise like that. That's insane. Um, uh, well, congratulations. That's huge. How
Thank
did
you.
you how did you see this impact your stream at all, or did you notice an impact?
Um, Initially you get a few more subs because people are like, kind of like, oh, cool, like you have more emotes now. Like maybe my $5 means a little bit more. But also I saw a little bit of like, it's like when people do those partner push streams, like people are really hyped on it. Like they're like, oh yeah, we got to get you partnered, man. You deserve it. You deserve it. But then when you kind of get partnered, it's like people kind of assume that you made it.
Mm,
And it's like you see a little bit of fall off on support, I think, too. Like it
mm.
kind of depends. I mean, it could just be like what my community is and like the direct age groups. Like I think with if you have like a younger crowd, like they're like, yeah, more pictures. But for older people, like they're like, whatever, man, I don't care about your damn pictures. Like you're getting paid to play video games and going to the office. Go screw yourself.
They got the weight of the world on their shoulders. They don't care about the
Yeah.
check mark. Yeah, I've heard a
So
lot of people complain that getting verified or partnered actually loses them streamers because they're like, oh, now you're a big streamer. I like little streamers. Did that
yeah,
happen to
yeah,
you at all?
a little bit. Like not a whole lot because people kind of just knew like, okay, whatever, you're still like one of the few people that are on and I actually enjoy watching you over whoever else. But there is a bit where you're like, I don't know, they're like they kind of assume like, okay, well, they don't need me anymore. And it's like, no, please come back, I need you very much. Because now anything monetarily gained is dependent on you sitting here watching me. Please don't leave me.
So gross. Okay. How about Team Simplicity? What's the experience been like being a part of a stream team? How did you come across them, and how have you noticed that interaction helping you maybe learn what's to do, or just kind of increase your
um,
experience?
well, I think with Simplicity, it's been nice because we're not, you know, super connected like the communities. Like we're not always tossing people around and whatever, hosting each other. But it is a nice little group of people that we can all talk to and just be like, hey, like what's working for you? How are things going on your end? And for me personally, I got into it because one of the other streamers for TESL was the team manager. So he knew I was doing well in the directory and suggested it to the owners of the team, and here we are with that, man. It's been cool. I like having like a jersey and stuff. It feels official. It feels like I'm watching, like TSM, how they
Yeah.
have their stuff, and it's like, yeah, I got that too. Granted, it's not on the same scale, but it does feel pretty cool. Like I really enjoy being a part of them, and all the management, everyone's been really cool about everything. So, little extra opportunities here and there. They've set up a few sponsorships, and yeah, I'm really really grateful to them. It's great. If you can get on a stream, a stream team, I recommend it. It really helps anybody out there.
What can you say the number one attraction to a stream team would be to somebody who isn't currently a part of one?
Opportunity, and whatever that means to you, it kind of fulfills it all. There's opportunity for growth. There's opportunity for sponsorship. There's opportunity for friendship within the team. Like there's a lot of things that can go from it. It all boils down to just opportunity. It's all there under that umbrella. And even if it's just a small stream team with you and a friend, like you have more of a unifying force behind it that makes you want to do stuff together and put more effort into it. So yeah, I don't think there's really any downside unless you got people stirring up drama and putting bad names out there, but you gotta just choose wisely.
Well, everyone we've met from Simplicity has been outstanding, so it's really nice to see you keep the theme going. I appreciate you coming down here and chatting with us. Aberdon's got a nice question for you as well. Is your dog always so well behaved on stream?
Oh yeah, he just hangs out, wants to sleep. The only thing he'll do is he'll just whine at me if I don't put him on the bed because he's getting old now. He's like 14.
Oh, what's his name?
Shadow.
Shadow.
Yeah, he just gets comfy and he's happy.
Well, thank you for getting comfy with us and giving us so much good information, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come down.
Not a problem. It was really fun.
For everyone who's listening and maybe sees this content later, when can you tell us your stream schedule is and when they can kind of come find you and see more?
So pretty much I'm starting to do a little bit earlier, trying to nudge myself towards that so I can, not sleep during the day and be a full-on vampire. But I'd say maybe 10 p.m. PST to midnight PAC is about going to be where my start range is. I'm going to try and more settle into the 10 p.m., but within that range we'll go for now. And and I'll go for maybe 6 hours or so each night. So, and if I'm really feeling crazy, I'll go longer. So if you want to come around, that's when I'll be there.
Great.
What game? Who knows?
Well, I can't wait to figure out in the next stream what it's gonna be. HerculeSatan, thank you again for coming down and spending your time. We appreciate it. I wish you the best in growth and all that stuff.
Thank you.
Keep it up, and we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, same to you guys. I've been seeing your name everywhere, so I'm really excited for your future as well.
Thank you very much. We'll be as many places as they'll let us. See you next time.